What the f is this piece of
What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering, and some absolutely hilarious news about the woke Snow White remake that Disney thought we all wanted. Now, there hasn't been a better takedown of the modern pandering that we've seen in Disney than the Panderverse by South Park, even if they don't get the reasoning 100% correct. And we're gonna get all the hilarity after a quick word from this video's sponsor. Hey, you, person watching. This video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. Now I know you've heard of it, but what's it all really about? Let me be your guide to all things Raid. Raid Shadow Legends is increasing its roster of awesome looking champions with brand new rarity mythical, a step above legendary champions. These mythical champions have a special new mechanic called Metamorph that allows them to change between two different forms. Just like I change when I drink this mystery liquid. My Metamorph might have been legendary, but it's nothing compared to what Raid Shadow Legends is doing with mythical champions. With mythical champions, they're basically two champions in one, change between forms with unique metamorph skills. Summon these awesome mythical champions from a brand new primal shard in the portal. Mythical champions are the most versatile champions ever seen in Raid. You can tailor your playstyle and create synergies across both forms. Also, this October, be prepared for a scare with Raid. There'll be tricks, treats, and more for this Halloween. For those who brave the Raid Yard, simply download Raid Shadow Legends using the links below, copy your in-game player ID, then venture over to raidyard.polarium.com from October 15th to November 10th, enter your player ID, gather your courage, and then venture into the haunted graveyard. You'll have a chance to dig up some amazing in-game items and even real-life prizes, ranging from epic legendary Halloween-themed Raid champion to Amazon gift cards with a total value of $20,000. If you're an existing Raid player, you can still get involved with this Halloween spooktacular. Head over to raidyard.polarium.com. You'll find a special promo code that everyone can use to earn a small in-game gift. Of course, new players, check out my link in the description or scan the QR code right here and you get a free starter pack with this cool in-game loot. Hit my link in the description and I'll see you on the battlefield. But remember when they rolled out these goofballs and said that this was the Seven Dwarves? They floated this out there. A very diverse group, including a single possible, maybe one of the seven people pictured here having dwarvism. Maybe could just be short. I don't know how tall this grass is. Then you have a black guy with an afro, a white guy with an afro, another white guy, a very black guy with dreads, I think. I can't really tell. Or not dreads, maybe like, I don't know what you'd call it, I guess. Then you have another black individual with space buns, and then what appears to be a gay man or something like that. A man with a beard, not so subtly wearing a rainbow-type flag, or a rainbow-type headdress, or whatever it is. Now, maybe, I don't know, it's probably a bit of a reach because this little guy up front here is also wearing similar colors, but it's modern Disney, so it's difficult to really know if I'm being insane or not because this is what they do. So they roll this out, right? They get absolutely demolished on social media. Live action Snow White is getting crucified online for trading dwarves for a diversity cast. Now, we already remember basically how this works out. You had King Dwarf, Peter Dinklage, saying that he speaks for all people with dwarvism and that none of them want to have the role of a lifetime in Snow White, and that they should replace them with, quote, magical creatures, which also apparently are extraordinarily diverse. The seven dwarves were all men. Now it's 50-50, or it's probably two women and two LMNOPs, I suspect. But they roll this out, and then there are other prominent entertainers with dwarfism that absolutely crushed them, like Hornswoggle. It was like, this is a role of a lifetime, and you just took it away from everybody because you're a dork. Yeah, so they roll this out. Everybody is crushing. You see this tweet. Disney's live-action remake of Snow White has replaced the seven dwarves with seven gender-inclusive, multiracial, magical creatures. Will you be going to see the woke remake of Disney Classic? Well, of course not. Everyone soundly crush this idea. I believe it was actually bigger. I believe it was actually a bigger net negative for people's interest in the film than even Rachel Zegler. I know that's crazy, but I do believe it was a much larger negative impact than her interviews of being an annoying twat, because most people aren't terminally online. You know, even if you take the whole world of YouTube that covers this kind of stuff, you know, my channel, and Neurotics, Geeks and Gamers, all these people that could cover this kind of stuff, we're a pretty small pretty small group of people, maybe 1 million total viewers across all 3 channels. Not necessarily enough to sink a franchise as big as this, but, you know, when we get together, when we work together on things like, the Snyder Cut, or movies like Alita, and things like that. Anita. Anyway, we can make an impact. Now, this film, we know Rachel Zegler comes out and everyone hates her. She says the story was weird. She called Prince Charming a stalker. She hilariously demanded she get paid for every minute the film streams, because she had to stand in wearing a dress as an iconic Disney princess for 18 hours. All of her, basically her entire interviews, every time this woman opens her mouth, something stupid comes out. This is also somebody that has never starred in a movie that's ever made money. She was in West Side Story, which lost at least $200 million. And she's in the new Hunger Games movie that no one asked for and no one cares about. That is almost certainly going to lose money, although I don't know. It's tough to predict these days, but I suspect that nobody's going to run out to see the Hunger Games, freaking 10 years after it came out, and nobody's paying to see Rachel Zegler. That's a fact. Now, Snow White live-action remake reveals a first look at Rachel Zegler with CGI dwarves after major backlash. So they fired all the magical, diverse creatures. Not very inclusive of you, Disney, is it? On top of that, they've canned the film until 2025. Now, certainly this has something to do with probably refilming stuff. All the reshoots that need to happen, but it also probably has to do with the actor strike, to be fair. It may have to do with, the Daily Wire's release. I don't know. I don't think Disney's necessarily thinking about that as much as some people might think, but that's neither here nor there. A new image from Disney's live-action Snow White shows the first look at the princess with the dwarves. The upcoming Disney live-action remake is a reinterpretation. Oh, that's a new word.
Reinterpretation.
That's just a longer version of
reimagined.
Of the 1937 animated classic Snow White. Now, Disney has released the first images of the Snow White remake. The first look shows Zegler's princess surrounded by 7 dwarves. The dwarf characters are rendered in CGI and stand and sit around the princess. Now, you'll notice something pretty curious about these dwarves. They are in fact all white and men, as were the original dwarves in the 1937 classic. Pretty curious, not very diverse. So it would look like certainly these particular characters. Disney has said, well, maybe we listen to people. Now it's interesting because it's complicated because you want them to listen to you, right? So this is actually an incredible win for kind of the anti-absurdness community. Now, adding some diversity, okay, fine. We gave you the brown Snow White, okay? We gave you that, all right? But no, that wasn't enough. Then you had to change the dwarves too. Then you had to send this broad out there to call it weird and to call Prince Charming a stalker and all this kind of stuff, and then make us believe that Gal Gadot is jealous of this woman's looks, which is absurd. Not that Gal Gadot isn't also a complete moron, but that's a story for a different day. They go, despite the anticipation, the remake has faced several controversies, including the representation of dwarves and Zegler's comments about the classic. Rather than borrowing from the original animated movie titled Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the upcoming Disney live action had de-emphasized the dwarf characters by lopping off the second part of the title. Then it was revealed that the 7 dwarves will be replaced by 7, quote, magical creatures, which all looked humanoid, by the way, in the Snow White remake. This change was made in consideration of the harmful stereotypes about those with dwarfism that those characters were thought to perpetuate. I don't know. I don't have dwarfism. I'm sure I have a few viewers that do. You could probably let me know if Snow White made your life harder, maybe when you were a kid. Maybe, it's possible. But it's hard to know for sure. It's just, I don't necessarily buy that it's really, ruining folks' lives. Of course, with the most recent Snow White image, Disney has seemingly pivoted away from the magical creatures, while the Snow White casting damage has already been done, as a CGI dwarf is not as an inclusive step in the way that the casting actor with dwarfism would be. It seems Disney is trying to listen to the critical response with the recent news of Snow White's delay from March 22nd, 2024, so we were only 4 months away, to March 21st, 2025. The live-action remake still has many months to reinvent itself. Well, yeah, it's going to have to. Now, this is going to turn into like a classic Bud Light scenario. All the people that you pandered to, hoping that they would buy tickets, which we know that isn't actually what happens. I could give you a million examples of that. How about Little Mermaid? When they race swapped Little Mermaid, and the movie lost money. You would think that they would learn by now. Maybe they are. But you see, even TMZ, Snow White movie delayed CGI dwarves getting swapped in. Disney's gone back to the drawing, but I don't think that I can like undersell this enough, understate it enough. This is a massive win. This is going to cost Disney tons of money. First and foremost, they have to, I don't know how much of the film they actually, how much of the movie they filmed, but they're going to have to redo all of that. All of it. So think about that. If the movie was supposed to come out in 4 months, that means it was done. That means they were in the final editing stages. Maybe some last second refilming, stuff like that. But they had to be almost done with this movie. So they have to go entirely back. If that's true, they have to go all the way back to the start of it and refilm everything. Because, I suppose any scenes with the dwarves in them or the magical creatures, they now have to refilm, which is going to cost them tens of millions of dollars. Add to that the high cost of CGI that they're going to have to now invest again into the movie, which means that the budget is going to balloon even more. And if this isn't enough to save the movie, which I believe it isn't, they're just throwing good money after bad. What's taking people by surprise, or why they're taking people by surprise, is earlier this year, photos from the film leaked prematurely, which showed them doing pickup filmings in the UK, which appear to unveil the dwarves, who are going to look like reimagined 21st century versions. I think that, of course, the whole reason they even went that route is because of Peter Dinklage's very public griping about the whole Snow White story, which he found demeaning to little people and completely backwards. As a result, Disney promised to go in another direction. Now, however, the studio seems to be backtracking again because they're teasing actual dwarves, which appears to indicate they are in fact going to play up the classic. Well, I don't think they have any choice. I mean, this would have been an absolute disaster. The fact that they're pushing it off. Now, is it possible? Is it possible that they were always going to do CGI and those were just stand-ins? Maybe. I doubt it, though, because why wouldn't they have then been people with dwarfism? Because it would make it an easier swap out for CGI, right? Why would you have them all various types? Why would you care about their skin color? Why would you care about all this stuff? This is an absolute win. And the fact that they're going to lose all this money. Look, I still think people should not go see it. I think, I still think people should skip it because of the, obvious, the absurd race swap. Disney and Wokeness writes, Disney is using the SAG strike as an excuse for the year-long delay. Who do they think they're fooling? This is clearly a last-ditch effort to save an awful movie that was about to completely tank. They probably need more time to recast and possibly do the storyline. You absolutely love to see it. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you leave a like on it. If you haven't yet, please do subscribe down below, and we'll talk to you again real soon.